On today's episode, we preview the SEC championship game, Texas versus Georgia, Part 2. Quarterback for Texas, Quinn Ewers. This game could determine whether or not he's a 2025 NFL draft prospect or he returns to college football and enters the transfer portal. We'll tell you why we feel that way and more coming up next.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Locked On family? Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. You can find and follow me on X at DP_NFL. I'm a senior draft analyst, and thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. And you know I got to kick the intro to Mr. LSU himself, Keith Sanchez. You can find and follow him on X at The Talent Code. Keep talk to him, baby.
What's up, Locked On family? Let's get locked in. This is Keith Sanchez, 2019 national champ, man, and the other side to this dynamic duo that we like to call the What? Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I'm going to start this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day as we bring you this championship level content on what? SEC, the Conference of Champions. It just means more. If I'm a little biased, it's probably because I'm biased, right? So, DP, we talking SEC, man. We have Georgia. We have Texas. This is the repeat, right? This is part two. Georgia won the first game handily, right? Handled those guys at Texas, right? They went to Austin and handled University of Texas handily. And we're about to see if Texas can bounce back. So this is what we're going to do on this championship podcast. We are going to talk about the offensive prospects, right? We're still a ton of guys, 2 quarterbacks that have been in first-round conversations, right? Plus plenty more. Then we have defensive prospects that are littered throughout this game from top to bottom, first round all the way to 7th round. And then we're going to talk about which guys are the X factors, right? And I may pick a backup quarterback as an X factor, and we're going to talk about that. DP, I'm ready to get into this conversation. Let's get into it.
You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Offensive prospects to watch, part 2 of Georgia versus Texas. Keith, you know where I'm starting. Texas, quarterback, Quinn Ewers. Quinn he's got to right the ship. Like that first game was wrong. It was bad.
You caught me off guard with that one. There is not a prospect, DP, with more to gain or lose in this championship week than Quinn Ewers. Point blank, period, right? Texas A&M didn't played solid, right? But had some costly turnovers that everybody could look at you and say, hey, bro, right? Then we talked about the pressure of Arch Manning sitting right there behind. And he talking about, hey, do you go to the NFL or not? And he talking about was a first round conversation. Now everybody's probably talking about day 2, maybe early day 3 as a prospect. Repeating against University of Georgia, the first game, DP, they got blitzed, right? And I'm not talking about the play call blitz. I'm talking about got blitzed, meaning you couldn't do nothing, right? You was just getting manhandled up front, making mistakes left and right. This is the game where Steve Sarkisian decided to bench Quinn Ewers. The exact matchup, DP, prime time and bring in Arch Manning. Quinn Ewers has to start fast. He has to get the job done. He has to protect the football. He has to remind people. Last year, he went on a playoff run. And he had really good playoff games, DP. Their conference championship game in the Big 12. I think they played Oklahoma State. And then the first round, right? Like they battled. He played really good football. So now it's up to him to play really good football again in a must-have, gotta-have-it type of football game for University of Texas.
No, 100%, Keith. In the first game, 50 dropbacks. He was 25 of 43, 58% completion, 211 yards passing, average less than 5 yards per attempt. He had 2 passing touchdowns and an interception. You can't have that. Like, you got to play better. And it was the I don't even want to call it comfort. It was just the inability, not even inability, but just the stubbornness. It felt like not moving in the pocket, right? Like you are out leveraging your tackles against Jalen Walker and Mykel Williams, like 2 athletically gifted, physically gifted pass rushers and defensive prospects, guys who looked at that game and it felt like Jalen Walker and Mykel Williams put that game on their shoulders. The way they played, like they put it on their shoulders. Like, we got to set the tone and to help our team win, because they knew and understood the offense wasn't playing great ball. So for Quinn Ewers, you got to come out here and take command of this offense. You got way too many weapons, speed everywhere. Like, get the run game going with the young kid. I forget his name. Quinn. I think it's Quintravion Wisner. Get him going. Like, he's been kind of an MVP for him when they get him going. But Quinn Ewers off the play action, take the deep shots. Get the ball down the field. That yards per attempt needs to be hovering between 8 to 10, in my opinion. This is not a vintage Georgia secondary. You know what I mean? You got Kingo and all these different like potential first round, second round prospects. These guys are not viewed in that light. Attack them, you know what I mean? Like, attack this secondary. We know Malachi Starks is back there. Dan Jackson's been playing really good ball, the other safety as well. But you can't allow that. You got to play well in the pocket, climb up and find passing lanes, move in the pocket, Quinn. Move. Like, if Kelvin Banks is able to play, he hurt his ankle last week. They say he looked good to start the week. We'll see if he goes. If he can start, even if he doesn't, I think it's Gooseby, I think is the backup. If he has to play, either way, Michael Williams, who hasn't played well these past couple weeks, he's going to take this game personal. Jalen Walker is going to take this game personal yet again. Quinn, play better in this game, man. And Keith, I think Isaiah Bond, if I was watching the game against Texas A&M, he looked hobbled. I think he might be a little dinged up as well.
Okay.
With more onus on like the freshman Ryan Wingo, our guy Matthew Golden. I'll talk about Matthew Golden a little bit later as my X factor, because I think that that's where he needs to be, and he has that chance to be there for him. Gunnar Helms, I think, is going to be big. Should be big in this game. Like, get the ball to the talented tight end, Keith. Like, he's 6'5", 255, 260. Great run blocker. Like, good athleticism, can stretch the seams and work the middle of the field. You have to attack this defense vertically, in my opinion. You got to. If you can't attack them vertically, you're cooked, because they're going to be able to squat on everything. And if they squat and make you hold the ball, now the pass rush gets home.
Yeah, no, I'm with that, DP. Matter of fact, I agree with that. Just as far as what they have to do. Georgia, talk about Georgia side football. I'm going to make this quick, right? Because we only got a couple minutes. Offensive coordinator, Kirby Smart. Throw the football to your tight ends, right? Your best offensive game against Tennessee. You threw the football to your tight ends. And I'm going to name the guys so you can find them, right? One, his name is Oscar Delp. Throw him the football. He's a really good football player. Then you convince the guy. He transferred from Stanford. He's a veteran, wily veteran. His name is Ben Urasek. Throw him the football, right? Then you have another tight end. His name, I want to get it right, DP. I think it's Lucky Lawson, right? I want to make sure. Lawson Lucky. I want to make sure it's right. Yeah, that's when somebody got two first names and two last names. I don't know which one goes first, right? But throw the football to your tight ends. They are your playmakers, DP. They are the best tight ends. Throw the football to your tight ends. That's my game plan. That's what I have.
Throw it less to Arian Smith. He keeps dropping it. You got
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like Dylan Bell. Now Dylan Bell, the wide receiver for Georgia, I think he's number 86. He can play too. Yeah. I like Dylan Bell. I have a mid-round grade on Dylan Bell. He can do some things. I think he can go to an NFL team and help a lot. But it's clear that the guys with the biggest athletic advantage over the people that are covering is your tight ends. So throw the football to your tight ends. Get all the guys involved.
That O-line got to play well too. Like Xavier Trust and Tate Ratledge and those guys. They got to be able to keep Barron Sorrell. I think he's like a 5-star freshman. I think it's Colin Simmons.
Oh yeah, Colin Simmons. Yeah. Barron.
You got to keep those guys away from Carson Beck, man.
The interior defensive lineman. You got Vernon Broughton, right? So we'll get into those. Matter of fact, DP, let's get into that right now. So coming up next, we're going to talk about the defensive prospects to watch. Georgia, throw the football to your tight ends.
Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. It's guaranteed perfection in every single bite And right now, you can save on unforgettable gifts with 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, score an extra $30 off with the promo code NFL. With 5 generations of experience, they consistently deliver the world's best steak experience, and the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages featuring gourmet favorites. From legendary steaks to mouth-watering desserts and more, save 50% off site-wide for a limited time at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with the promo code NFL. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com with an extra $30 off with the promo code NFL. Minimal purchase may apply. You don't want to miss out on this deal. Missing someone this holiday season and you want them to be a part of your festivities from afar? Like, do your loved ones live far away and you wish they could be close to you? Guys, we've got the perfect gift for you. Skylight Frame is the touchscreen digital photo frame your whole family will love. Upload thousands of photos with your phone and watch them appear in seconds. The setup takes less than 60 seconds. You can invite friends and family to easily share photos via the free Skylight mobile app or email. No account or subscription is required. It only takes a tap on your phone to send new photos to a frame across the country. It's the fastest, easiest way to keep loved ones in the loop. They'll feel so much more connected to you. And now, as a special limited time offer to our listeners, get $20 off your purchase of a Skylight Frame when you go to skylightframes.com/NFL. That's SKYLIGHTFRAME.com/NFL. Get $20 off your purchase now at skylightframe.com/NFL. Defensive prospects to watch: Texas, Georgia, part 2, the rematch. Can we get a slugfest and not a knockout this time? That's what I'm hoping for, Keith. And I'm looking at, like you just kind of talked about, right? Like this defensive line, Alfred Collins, and Vernon Broughton, yep. Like Colin Simmons. They got a linebacker, Anthony Hill. Like they got their front seven is talented. And I think for them, it's going to be stopping the run, like, and forcing Carson Beck to throw. Now, Carson Beck has played good ball the past like month. Feels like I was like, man, Carson, we could have got this each month. Like, you would still be a first round pick at this point. Mm-hmm. Like, you're trying to work your way back up to it. And I think if for them, it's stopping the run. Like Nate Frazier, they lean on him. He's a 5-star. I think he's like a 4 or 5-star freshman for Georgia, the running back. They've been starting to lean on him, and you got to stop their run game. Make them one dimensional. Don't let them get comfortable with the play action pass, like forcing you to change your numbers in the secondary and things like that. If that D-line and that front seven could just play within themselves, where you could play kind of too high, protect the seams, especially as to your point, get the tight ends the football. Where do tight ends typically roam? The seams, the middle of the field. If you can kind of put a cap on that area in terms of Texas, that defensive line, that front seven, is going to be big, because like stopping the run, being able to get after the quarterback, because that's what you really want, right? Like you want Barron Sorrell and Colin Simmons to have as many 3rd and 7s, 3rd and 8s, maybe 3rd and 6s, right? You want as many of those as possible, Keith, so they can pin their ears back and get the Carson back.
Yeah, and you talk about being game changers, DP. We've seen it in the A&M game, right? That these guys, they wreck shop at the end of the day. When they get going, especially, you talk about the freshman and then Barron Terrell, who we talked about earlier this week, just as far as being an unsung hero, right? He can just play football. I'm gonna name somebody. We talked about the tight ends, right? Who has to defend tight ends? You talked about the seam routes, right? I think he's a locked on guy, right? You've been talking about him for a while. Andrew Makuba, right? The transfer from Clemson. And I'm naming him because DP has 4 interceptions on the year, steps up in the run game, right? But you look at it, he makes big time plays in big time games, right? He had an interception against Florida, interception against Georgia, interception against Kentucky, interception against Michigan. This is a guy that shows up in primetime moments. And if there's a defensive prospect playing in the middle of the field, I know we like Billy Bowman a lot, right? As far as doing some creative things. Andrew Makuba is probably in that top 5-ish to top 7-ish nickel hybrid safeties that can show one thing and then try to jump a route, plays aggressive, right? Good at reading route combinations and can turn the football over. So it appears that he's always in the mix. Whether that's if he's making a tackle or not making a tackle, right? Like if he's not completing the tackle, but he's always in the mix and around the football. And so I have to name Andrew Makuba as one of those guys on that Texas defense.
No, 100%. I love that call out, Key, because when I hosted the Locked On Clemson pod last year while he was still at Clemson, he came on the show. He was one of the leaders of that secondary, of that defense for Clemson. You know what I mean? That was a big loss for them losing him to go to Texas. And he's instinctive. He talked to me about how much he watches film and how important that is to his process. And you could tell, like, you're not in the right spots by luck, Keith. Not in football. Like, you're in the right spots because you know where to be, right? Yep. Not just from the defensive scheme and what the coaches have dialed up, but also you're reading everything that's going on, the route combination and the concepts they're throwing at you, the eyes of the quarterback, seeing where he's kind of leaning towards throwing and targeting, and you get to that spot. He does a good job at times beating whoever the receiver or the tight end to the spot and making the play on the ball. I remember watching them against you go back to that FSU game last year, that competitive game when Florida State came to Clemson. He was matching up against Johnny Wilson. He was matching up against Keon Coleman, and he was out there battling, creating pass breakups, not giving up much, you know what I mean, in man-to-man coverage, playing off. I do think that he's a guy, depends on which tight end gets going, and if they start to kind of feed one more than the other, I could see Sark and that defensive staff say, let's make sure Andrew Makuba is hovering near Oscar Delp, hovering around Lawson Lucky or Benjamin Urosic, and try and limit the explosive plays from that, Keith. Even with that, I got to go also to Jahdae Barron, the corner. Even though I said don't throw the ball to Arian Smith as much, they're still going to probably throw the ball to Arian Smith. Like, he's the fastest dude on the field, right? Like, and for Barron, like, just the fact that Keith, on the season, he's not giving up a single touchdown. He's got 4 interceptions, 5 pass breakups, right? Like, he's not allowed more than 235 yards, like, in coverage. Like, he's played, and this is a guy who's been a versatile guy throughout his career. Nickel corner, safety. That's the kind of what we thought he was going to be coming into the season. Then this year they put him outside, and he's excelled out there. And for him, no matter if it's Dylan Bell, whichever one of these receivers you're on, lock that assignment down, right? And if they target you, add another pick or two to your stat sheet, right? Take the ball away. I think that, especially in a game like this where we don't know what Texas offense is going to look like, the defense is going to have to generate some turnovers. And if I'm Jahdae Barron, if I'm that defensive staff, I'm telling them, hey, if they send the ball your way, position yourself to make a play on it, even if it's a pass breakup, whatever. Like, I want your hands on the football if they send it your direction, because if you get your hands on the football enough, you're gonna come down with at least one of them. You know what I mean? And he's proven that.
Yep. With DP, let's talk about Georgia defensive prospects, and and for the very same reason I talked about the Makuba and Carson Beck matchup, right? I'm gonna talk about it the other side. Quinn Ewers and Malachi Starks. Quinn, and we talked about in the A&M game, right? He had a couple that could have been intercepted. I'm gonna say this: Malachi Starks has ball skills. So you throw those lollipops over the middle of the field, Malachi coming down with it, right? And he's on the back end, and his tackling needs to improve, right? It's something that kind of fell off from last year to this year, right? But as far as ball skills, being able to track the football, reading routes, being in man coverage, yeah, if you're late, he gonna make you pay. If you're throwing that thing back across your body, he's gonna make you pay. If you're trying to fit it in the triple coverage, he's gonna make you pay. Malachi Starks is somebody to definitely look at on the back end of this Georgia defense, because I expect them to try to stop the run from Texas, right? And then Quinn is going to have to throw the football. He's going to be one of those guys that's going to be trying to play mind games, right? Like, it reminds you of those, those Ed Reed and Peyton Manning matchups, Ed Reed and Tom Brady's, right, where they're showing different things, moving around. They almost have the freedom to do it, right? Because the coaches trust that, guess what? You're going to put yourself in the best position to make a play no matter what.
No, 100%, Keith. And of course, like, he said, don't throw those lollipops in the middle of the field. Listen, yeah, you go right ahead. It's going to be like a, Willy Wonka, chocolate factory. You're going to have, Malachi Starks, but not just Malachi Starks. Those linebackers will take the ball away. Linebackers are good dropping off into zones and picking and being in the spots, right? I think he might be a sophomore. He looks like an NFL player right now. I think it's like Raylan Wilson, the middle linebacker, like big, strong, physical young man. Like he makes plays. Damon Wilson Jr. They have
I got a question.
Yeah.
What happened to Smile Mundan?
That's a good question, Keith. I see him on the field.
Yeah, I know that, but just haven't been talked about as much, in his draft class at all, right? And I think is he just a true junior? Maybe he's a senior this year. I wonder if he has any eligibility to come back. But you're talking about a name pool to where he was a guy that everybody was talking about as, this is going to be a first round linebacker, just a year ago, right? And then now nobody talks about him.
I think he's a senior. So he's a senior. I think he's missed a couple games in the middle of the season. He played up to week 5, missed games all the way up, and then he came back in week 11. And so they kind of worked him back into the lineup from looking at his game log. He didn't start until week 13 at UMass, and then he started last week. Well, he was solid in both of those games. That's why I remember seeing him against Georgia Tech. But it felt like it makes sense. No, out of sight, out of mind, right?
Yeah, I thought I'm with you. I seen him against Georgia Tech, and I'm like, man, I forgot about Small. Like, one of those things. Yeah, like I forgot about Small, but I think he's a guy to look forward to, right? Like you talked about, he's another athletic. I think we had questions about him playing the run consistently. But as far as the athleticism, dropping in the coverage, playing cover 2, him being that guy that carries the seam route, right, vertical. He can do those type of things. So I think he's another second level defender for Georgia. And as we wrap up
as well, CJ, I mean he's a sophomore, but this kid's impressive. Like
he is.
The game against I think it might have been the Georgia Tech game where his impact was like you felt it almost every time late in that game. He was making plays at the line of scrimmage, in the passing game, blitzing, whatever. So like this, of course, Jalen Walker, Michael Williams. Can you repeat what you did, in the first matchup?
Yep.
Can you repeat that? Because if you repeat that, then you're gonna win this game. It's just hands down what it is, Keith. If they have the type of performance rushing the pass they had in the first matchup, I don't know if Quinn Ewers has an answer for it.
No, I could tell you right now they don't, right? Like what they did up front, DP, you don't have an answer for that if they get it going again. There is nothing you can do offensively about that. They like I said, they were blitzed, and that's the only way I could. That's the best way I could explain it. But DP, let's wrap this thing up with what X Factor prospects. And I told you I may pick a backup quarterback whose last name is Manning as my X Factor prospect. Let's get into that coming up next.
Hey, Locked On NFL Draft fans, I know you're like me and your shopping list for the holidays is, let's just say, far from complete. Well, if that's the case, I've got the perfect gift for the passionate sports fans in your life. Perhaps you've heard of IceShaker. IceShaker is now officially licensed with the NFL, NHL, NBA, NCAA, and MLB, and will make the perfect or ideal gift. Created by and used by the Gronkowski brothers, IceShaker has sold over 1 million bottles. They have changed the game with workout bottles, and this is a gift you've been looking for. Go to IceShaker.com and use the code LOCKEDONNFL at checkout to save 25% on your order. I have one right here, guys. It's a Baltimore Ravens one because Lamar Jackson is one of my favorite players in the league. And I'm going to tell you something. This thing has weight. It's sturdy. It's strong. It is quality product. Go get your hands on it. Order your team branded bottles today at IceShaker.com and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for 25% off your order. IceShakers. Show your support to your teams with the best branded bottles on the market. IceShakers. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch or an urge in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. To get in on the action, just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Again, you'll get started with $150 back in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Again, to get in on the action, just visit FanDuel.com to join today. So never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel. an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and everyday shot, for being our everydayers. X Factor prospects to watch when Georgia versus Texas Part 2. Keith, I'm going to go to Texas's secondary, not Texas, I'm sorry, Georgia's secondary, and that is one of their corners, Keith. Like I said, we haven't talked a lot about their corners, but Dalen Everett, 6'1", 190. He's a true junior, so he still has a year of eligibility left. And, I mean, he hasn't, like, typically, what's the phrase? Like, if your name isn't called in the corner, that's typically a good thing, right? But his season has been a little up and down. Last week he kind of struggled against Georgia Tech's receivers, where that was Singleton. And I forget the kind of slot receiver, Rutherford. I think it's Rutherford's Malik Rutherford. He kind of struggled. He gave up, targeted 5 times, gave up 4 catches for almost 80 yards through the air. Right. This is a game for him where you want your pass rush to get home, but what if it is a situation where that O-line saw what happened the first time and said, no, we got to answer for that, and they stopped the Georgia pass rush? You got to deal with Matthew Golden, potentially Isaiah Bond, Ryan Wingo, things of that nature. He needs to play a good game on the outside, Keith, because if he gives up deep plays, if he gives up big plays, I think against Georgia Tech, he allowed 18.5 yards per catch. You can't let that happen, because with the speed that they have at Texas, that 18 going to be 50, 60, 70. You don't want that if you're Georgia. So especially because with Malachi Starks being so versatile and they move him around so much, with that type of guy, you don't want him to have to just stay in one spot to play over the top as a secondary defender to help you, because you can't lock down your area. Dalen Everett, this is going to be a big game for him.
Yeah, and that's a good call out, DP, because we talked about Bama and Georgia lacking, like, remember there's like every year's first round corners, right, for Bama, and then Georgia had quite a few these past few years, right, but not first round. It's still like first, second round kind of nickel hybrid defenders, right? They had quite a few of those, and it's just not the same outside of Malachi Starks on the outside for Georgia. I talked about it, right? A Manning appearing. I have it's a combination of 3 guys, right? I'm gonna go with Arch Manning as an X Factor prospect, because what he did in Texas A&M, I think that was the beginning glimpse, right? And obviously Kirby's gonna watch the film for that, but I think they're gonna build off of that. I would, if I was Texas, the next thing I'm doing is I'm kind of throwing a jump pass in there, right? Let Arch fake like he's gonna run, get close to the line of scrimmage, big time play, jump pass, right? I'm doing different things to get Arch to football. I'm doing a like kind of like the throwback, right? The two I'm kind of say a double pass, right? I was about to say a two pass. Yeah. That's not right. A double pass, right? I'm getting Arch into a route, right? Get him matched up, see if he can run past a linebacker, or if they have him on the outside linebacker, see if he can run past them. I think they're going to try to use Arch in some creative ways, just from what we've seen in the Texas A&M game. Now, the real X factors, DP. Kelvin Banks, Cameron Williams. Got to play football. You got to show up, man. You got to show up, because we talked about it last segment. DP, if Michael Williams and Jalen Walker do what they did last time, this is over. Just that simple, right? This is not a football game. It's just that simple. If they repeat that, so they are the 2 most important people for Texas, right? And we've mentioned Quinn, we've mentioned Isaiah Bond, we've mentioned Matthew Golden, we've mentioned running backs, right? Those 2 guys, both of your offensive tackles, if they don't pitch shutouts, if they don't play well, both of these guys have been in the first round of mock drafts. First of all, they're going to hurt their draft stock, right? That's going to be the first thing. Then secondly, they're going to hurt their team in the SEC championship game. So I'm looking at those 2 offensive tackles, Kelvin Banks, Cameron Williams, have to play good football.
No, I like that a lot, Keith. And like you said, with Arch, it's kind of like just having that package for that more mobile, athletically gifted quarterback who can run, pass. He's a run, pass optional on his own. Yep. You know what I mean? So it's like I think that should be the case. And like you said, not just do what you did against Texas A&M where you ran him in the red zone. No, you put him in the red zone, give him that run threat, and then build a pass off of it, right? Pass. Like pop pass, jump pass. Or, you know what I mean? Just kind of like we've seen it with like the fake pitches on the fake running back pitch and then hit the seam route. We've seen Trevor Lawrence do it. It's just such a staple in college football. So I think that's a big thing. I'm going to stick with I said it earlier. Matthew Golden When this game happened the first time, Matthew Golden led them in receiving yards. He caught 3 of his 5 targets for 77 yards. He averaged almost 26 yards per catch. Him and Gunnar Helm were the 2 top guys. Gunnar Helm, 6 of 7 for 62 yards, over 10 yards per. They got to get these guys involved. We said it, I don't know, was it early? I think it was early this week, Keith. We early this week or last week. We said in one of the recent episodes, Matthew Golden is the best receiver on Texas. And they need to treat him as such. Get him the football. His ability to decelerate as a route runner and then like at the top of his breaks to create separation. His ability to reaccelerate post-catch, to catch the ball and make a play after it. Like, he's got speed and explosiveness and route running, catches the ball well. Like, I don't know, like, again, Quinn, get the ball to one of your best playmakers. And to me, that's Matthew Golden, especially if Isaiah Bond is still dinged up because he was like hobbled. He was limping on the field. I was like, yeah, that doesn't, like, he can't even move at full speed. So if, like, he's not able to operate at full speed, you got to get the ball, and I would say funnel that passing game through Gunnar Helms, up the seam, because they'll detach him, put him in the slot, like a big slot, stuff like that. Get him matched up on these linebackers. Maybe because if you beat the linebackers enough, what's going to happen, Keith? They're going to bring a safety down. All right, we got a safety down. I got one-on-one with Golden and one of these cornerbacks who haven't been playing the greatest football in college this year. I want to take that one-on-one matchup. I want to go down the field. I want to take that big shot. And I just need, like, go back to Quinn. Simple, man. Don't play passive, right? Play smart, but don't play passive. Like, get the ball out of your hand. Take deep shots if they're available. Back that defense up. That's going to help your run game. Back them up. Make them play you honest. And make those edge rushers have to think, because when you can make them play honest, Keith, you make Michael and Jalen have to think about the run game first.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can't play honest, if you're getting off the field, you're on 3 and outs, and they're able to put up points, now you got to play one-dimensional. So you got these talented players. I look at Gunnar Helms, Matthew Golden, 2 offensive X factors for Texas. They led them in receiving yards the first time. Now let's see if we can get a more consistent passing game, maybe some bigger plays from both of them.
Yeah, DP, I like all of those name call outs. Well, DP, that wraps up another episode, man, a championship level episode, SEC preview, all of the draft prospects. There you have it, man. That will be, I promise you, that'll be the playmakers. That's going to be the names that you hear on Saturday for the SEC championship game, Texas versus Georgia. Man, that wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day, man. Every listen is greatly appreciated here over at Locked On NFL Draft. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my guy, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, man, y'all can talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and everyday shot, for being our everydayers. Guys, championship weekend. We got NFL football on Sunday. The whole weekend's filled with football. So we're going to come back on Monday, and we're going to do our normal stuff, man. Quarterback rankings, who gets the game ball off a championship weekend, and who made themselves some money, and who may have dropped the bag. All that on Monday's show. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.